好好，OK，好好好，
我们伟大来的，我们是中国现在 China now, the Middle Kingdom, which is how it likes to think of itself as the middle of everything, and that's where it wants to become again, as it once was 1,000 years ago or something. Who knows? Um, and it has a plan on how to get there, and it's been working on it for a good 50 years, even before Xi Jinping showed up in town. But I think what Xi Jinping really did was fine-tune everything and really get it focused on kicking butt.
Well, the canteen thing you talk about, they recently restarted.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, back in I think it's like in the last few years they built all these
Well,
canteens.
hold that story. Hold that story, and we'll pick it up when we get to the end of this one, because it's kind of interesting how it all shook out. So at any rate, the reason we came to this point and to do a show segment that we call Eat at Mao's was because of Zohran Mamdani, the Democrat Party's candidate for New York City mayor, an avowed self-proclaimed socialist. And he recently has made, I guess what happened is all of the things that he said in his radical youth at rallies and everything are coming out in old video. People are pointing at him and going, this is what this guy thinks. One of the things he thinks is that the government should own the grocery stores. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, this rings familiar. And of course, it rings familiar because we're looking at the history of Mao's Great Famine, which took out a lot of people, tens of millions of people. And that was one element, was the common canteen. So I thought it would be fun to pick up that story and go with it and see how we're doing. So that's where we're going to go. We're going to go at Eat at Mao's. And let's see, let's start with Nansu's going to be the color commentator on this, and I'll kind of read through the story, so we'll go from there. Chairman Mao rose to power with an ambitious vision for China's future, one centered on converting his country's predominantly agrarian economy into an industrialized powerhouse. It was quite a job he took on, because very few people read or wrote or anything had that academic knowledge back in early 50s. Did they, Nansu?
No, well, that's what they have always done, trying to pursue the goal to industrialize the China,
Yes.
and the dream only became true after 2000, that we gave China PNTR, and then we ship all our manufacturing industry to China, so they become the industrialized nation. Now, see, here is one thing: Americans, we take it for granted. We were born in an industrialized country, raised in the industrialized country, living our daily life in the industrialized country, and we never realize how difficult it is to make a country to become industrialized. Prior to World War II, there's only 24 countries industrialized. Basically, the Western European countries plus United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Russia and Czech Republic. The total 25 countries. And after World War II, from 1945 to 2000, there's only four new countries. For 55 years, only four new countries become industrialized. I'm sorry.
That's not many countries. That's
That's not many. That's Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and one more. Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, I forgot.
Maybe Mexico.
No, no, no. Though Mexico is newly industrialized, so Singapore, Israel,
Oh,
Israel.
okay.
So there's only, for 55 years, more than half century, only four countries became industrialized. That just tells you how difficult to make a country become industrialized.
So,
Now,
so when they say China was agrarian, it really was agrarian, and there was really a law or a line that country people could not cross in going into the city. So they had two populations, not even really
which is
connected.
not equal.
Yes, and
Which are
still
not
isn't.
equal. Yeah, it's still not equal nowadays. But in the past quarter century, we make China become industrialized, and we gave everything that we have to China, and we actually deindustrialized the United States. That's the worst thing that our generation has done, to the United States. We actually degenerate, deindustrialized, so we
Yeah,
don't
we're
make
we're
anything anymore.
consumers. We're a nation of consumers, non. It's our job is to consume everything China manufactures and send them all their money. That's our job. So either we wake up from the
No,
fact that that's what our job is and do something about it, or we're going to be in big trouble.
yep,
I
that's
think we
it.
already are in big trouble when it
We
gets to,
are already in the
yeah.
trouble, right?
So let's go back to Chairman Mao Zedong, and he's won the revolution. He's kicked the Guomindang off the continent over to Taiwan, and now he's got this very backward population of agrarian people with whom he won the revolution. That's where his power came from, was the agrarian people going after the rich landlords, right? That was where he got his power. So now he's going to industrialize all of these small farmers who probably can't read or write, but certainly are equipped to know the value of money. So away he goes. He did this. His project was called the Great Leap Forward. So his goal was to completely industrialize China in 5 years. So how do you take a population that's backwards in almost all contemporary sense of the word and turn it into a modern industrialized camp with no American money, right? Because we weren't pouring in the money then.
No, no, and no, that's just right after. That's right, right. That's just right after the Korean War. So,
Yes,
and also just right before China and former Soviet Union broke up.
that's right.
You know, so that was the time period.
So
Uh, uh,
Mao's really by himself now, right?
yeah, Mao's dream is 5 years to catch UK and 10 years catch the United States on economy.
So great leap forward. So
Yeah, that's called the Great Leap Forward. 5 years to caught up with UK, 10 years caught up with United States.
so what? How do you do that? So first thing you have to do is figure out how to control everybody, or how to get people marching in the same direction. What do you do? Excuse me. So he set up communes. What's a commune?
Well, it's a basic. Well, the story is like after they start shooting the satellites, right? The Great Leap Forward, all different levels of communist officials. They got a they have to they compete, right, to see who is going to produce the more rice, the rice and steel. Basically, Chairman Mao is going after two things: rice and steel. They need the steel and they need the rice. That's back in the late 50s. He think this is a two critical elements to make China to to get caught up with UK and the United States.
That was a
So
little bit later on the timeline we're working on. It was a little bit later, but when that one of Mao's first things was to collectivize and everybody.
oh, that's before the Great Leap Forward. That's
Yes,
between 1949 and 1956.
right, right.
So that what you're talking about, they they shoot all the landlords, and then they take the land from the landlords, and then first of all they gave to the farmers, and then they tell farmers, oh, we're going to
We
go.
can't let you have this land. I'm
We
sorry, it
can't
was a
have
bad
yeah,
idea.
right. So because if you go collectively, then you're going to become richer, and you're going to, everybody living in the same uh, commune. What was living in this commune, and then everything owned by commune, and then everyone live together. So we are going to we are going to become richer in a collective way. That's what they say.
And
So
did they have a panel of experts that wrote a letter affirming that that was indeed going to be the case? Of like 50
well,
experts.
it's a brainwash,
Yeah.
right? It's
All right.
they will go everybody, and then they will convince you. They will do anything to convince you. So basically, well, farmers, they don't really have much of the experience how
That's
the
right.
economy will go.
They can't read, can't write, can't read the newspaper, don't know what's going on. So at any rate, Mao rounded up all of these people, these peasant farmers, took them off their land, moved them into communes, and set them up as a collectivized everything from working in the fields to cooking breakfast to cleaning out the latrines. Everybody did everything. So it was kind of like a Navy boot camp when it gets right down to it.
Well, it's more or less like we try it. Americans try it in when after Mayflower reached Portsmouth
Right?
School. They try it first, right? They try it living in the commune, and then it ended up people die, right? Hungry to die death
So it
because
is.
nobody want to work anymore, right?
So by 1958, there's estimates that 99.1% of China's farmers were moved into collective compounds,
Yes.
taken off. That's just about everybody was taken off, put in a compound, and let's see, there were 53,000 communes in China at the time, 170,000 households on 90 million acres of farmland. Every aspect of life in the communes was collectivized, including farming, manufacturing, schooling, and dining.
Oh
So,
yeah, you're talking about those communist movement. You look at there was a more extreme case, Cambodia. They
oh,
actually
yeah,
in
Khmer Rouge.
communes. Well, they actually separate the men and women. You all the men are living in the one society, another woman in the one society. And you are only you can have a family gathering time once a week or once a month, that kind of a thing. It's you.
Well, that was the plan. You know, you had to. Mao's in a position where he had to somehow get control of everybody. Now, if you have, what is it, 98 million farms, that's a tough job. How do you get them together and do something? But if you bring all those farmers together in a collective, and then you can organize things and have.
Well, and yeah, and all those farmers also become well, not the majority region though. So they have though those communes are big, but still the majority of the area it's still they don't have that kind of lifestyle. They still living in their own home, but however, the everything they work, the products all belong to commune. That's the way it is. That's the most common way. But but still there are a lot of big farms that's owned by government. They have everybody living collectively. That's there's a two different style. It's a
Mhm.
government-owned commune and also the villages. Villages also become commune, but they don't have to live together. But everything they work, the products belong to commune, or the land belong to
Yeah.
commune,
What is it
or the
said?
tools belong to commune.
The People's Communes puts a ban on all private property. Ladies and gentlemen, no private property, including
Well,
food.
that's what Karl Marx want to do, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, when Karl Marx say, "Hey, a family is the result of private ownership." By the time of communism come to the world, there's no family.
Well, and that's not just Karl Marx. It's Mamdani, who's the Democrat candidate for mayor of of New York City. Holy smokes! So the People's Communes put a ban on all private property, including food. All meals at the communes were distributed by communal canteens. They operated cafeteria style, with a bell signaling the start of each meal. Residents of the commune would line up for servings of rice, wheat buns, vegetables, and soup, with as many as 1,000 people dining in a single canteen. Can you imagine? It's 1,000 people. The food was free, but also mandatory. Mandatory? The people were not allowed to prepare any food for themselves, and farms had to send all their crops to the canteens, giving the commune eateries a monopoly on the food supply. So, got them cornered now. So now you have complete control of all of these people because they're eating at your kitchen. Eat at
Yep.
Mao's. Okay.
Yep. Well, it's in the county and the city, yes. You don't have your own kitchen anymore. So
Well, that's
everybody,
right. As part of the ban on private dining, the government confiscated the people's cooking equipment. Private kitchens were destroyed, and all the tools with them were used to establish the canteens. So they
yeah.
come into
Well,
your
that's actually the great leap forward
yeah,
period of time. All the the cooking, all the cooking things that the cookwares are collect, and then they use for the steel refining purposes, right?
yes, there you
So
go.
they crash their own wat and or pot or whatever, all the cooking well, as long as it's metal, they crash it and they throw into the big oven. Then they make steel.
Yeah,
Every village has a steel refinery.
yeah, we're going to pick that up as we go along here. And so imagine all of these people, 90 million, I don't know, 100 million people who were farmers, who were used to starving it out on the land by themselves, taking care of themselves. And if they didn't take care of themselves, nobody did. So you had classic farmers who had that parsimonious mentality where you save and save because who knows what's going to happen to the weather tomorrow. So, at any rate, the people were really happy to go along with the canteens, rejoicing in the fact that everyone now had access to food, to a bounty of food. However, this soon developed into a dangerously careless attitude. And this is something you were hinting at earlier, right? When you have all this free food, what's going to happen?
Waste,
Waste.
right? Waste, and people's eat, and also, another reason for that to happen is, during the Great Leap Forward period, uh, people they because every village has a steel refinery, and every village try to, officials in charge of every county or village, they try to report more production, right, of rice.
That's right.
So yeah, and then you have the biggest, the highest. They call that shooting the satellite contest, to see whose satellites is going to be, going higher. So they all report very, very high, very, very high, production. They have I remember 1 acre, uh, 1 acre, a Chinese acre though. That's not even a U.S. acre. Chinese acre is much smaller.
It's a mo.
Yeah, Mo. Yes, let me see. I forgot how many. It's a 1 acre of China, one Chinese acre that make 150,000 pound of grains,
Which
which
is a
is
pretty good report.
no. Well, the nowadays, like all these years, after all these years of develop of agricultural technology, nowadays you're lucky you get 2,000
Wow.
per acre. Nowadays in China, it's like 70 years later, after all 70 years of development of agricultural technology, you're lucky you got 2,000. 1,500 is pretty good, pretty good number. 1,500 pound, it's a pretty good number. And then they got 150,000 pound, per
And the
acre.
consequences of this, which we're going to be talking about soon here, are incredible. And we see the same thing happening today in China because Xi Jinping is a great follower of Mao. And hey, with that, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to continue with this discussion of eat at Mao's. Why eat at Mao? Because Mao took over eating. And he gave you food to eat, and you could eat as much as you wanted. What could possibly happen? Do stay tuned. We will be right back after these important messages.
Save money on airfare to anywhere. Low Cost Air is the discount supermarket for all domestic and foreign airlines. A funny thing is going to happen when you call Low Cost Air. You're going to talk to a human being within 60 seconds. Save money on airfare to anywhere. Call Low Cost Air to compare
just found
at
a one
800-704-1662. 800-704-1662.
Deer fins, wood fins, livestock chain link, vinyl, iron fins, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
My name is Stephen Bigger. My wife and I live in Royal Oak. When my wife and I were looking to find someone to build our fence, Cypress Coast Fence was highly recommended. It was amazing. These folks are masters at their craft. They're super professional. They came in when they said they were going to come in. They finished when they said they were going to finish. The fence is perfect for our needs, everything they said it was going to be, and then some.
Give us a call for your no-obligation consultation at 831-783-1500 or at cypresscoastfence.com.
We don't just build fences, we make good neighbors.
Deer fins, wood fins, livestock chain link, vinyl, iron fins, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
The Hook is California's first ever cannabis outlet. 100% locally owned and operated, we're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. We believe that everyone should have access to fairly priced cannabis, so we work hard to get it to you for 30 to 50% less than the other guys. If you're 21 or older with a valid ID, visit us in Capitola or in Watsonville today. We're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. Check out our website, hookoutlet.com, for deals and stay groovy.
Woman way da lida. Well, we're back, that's for sure, way back in 1958, talking about Mao's public canteens. Yes, Mao took over eating. And when he put everybody on communes, what a great thing for commune people. All of a sudden, they had everything they wanted to eat, as long as it could be made by the commune, didn't have to pay for it. So, what happened with that? Well, of course, led to a very dangerous attitude, as Nansu was saying. Historically, farmers had always been very careful about not exceeding their means, but believing that the government would always provide them with plenty people began to eat more. When their eyes got too big for their stomachs, they would throw leftovers away, and food waste became a very serious problem. Nansu, I've seen a bunch of videos of Chinese aunties on a cruise ship where
Tell me about that. Okay, that's what happened, right? That's what happened. That's that's just oh,
so what
it's
happens
so
with
much a
these
shame. It's just entirely a shame. That's why all these cruise ship companies, there are a couple cruise ship companies they operate in China, and then after a couple of months they just left.
and it's interesting to see the behavior of these little old ladies who you would expect to be gracious and whatnot, but when the food is there, it's madness. It's grabbing handfuls of shrimp and it's just
Well, if it's good, if they eat it, I mean, the problem is they take it, they just kind of like in the context of who will get more.
who gets
Once they,
more.
yeah,
Yes.
once they get it, they put it on their own table, then, they will go get something else in the context of getting something else. And then they got all this food together in front of them, piling up, and then they don't eat it. They just left.
They left, and the cruise ship companies went bankrupt trying to feed them. And
Yeah.
so that's enough of that. They moved their ships out of the area, and I think they're in the Alaska trade now. But that's what happened on the canteens way back in 1958. So that was a dangerous attitude. And I suspect those aunties who we see in the videos out of China and out of the West as well, when they're on tour and vacation, I suspect they're veterans of the Great Famine, of Mao's Great Famine. And
Well, that's actually what happened because I just checked it. One English acre equal to 6.07. It's more than 6 acres.
Oh,
of,
wow.
Chinese acre. So so they have one Chinese acre every. It's 1/6 of English acre that produce 150,000 pounds. That's the highest satellite they shoot. The big lie, the biggest lie, right? So about 150,000 pounds of grain produced by 1/6 of one English acre. That's what it is. So Chairman Mao start worry about how he's going to store all the food. He's thinking, he thinking, well, I don't have that much warehouse space to store all these food. So he go different areas, and then he encourage people to eat more. So he actually encouraged people to eat more. He said, you guys need to get used to eating more. That's going to make a stronger body. It's going to good for your health. And you better get used to it because the food is going to be plenty from now on, and then you just have to eat more. So
they have all of this phony numbers being reported to Mao. Everybody's saying, "Oh yes, I did 10 times more than you asked me to do," and can I get a job? That kind of thing. So reporting all of these bad numbers, Mao thinks he's got it made. He thinks, "Oh, I have worked out the solution to feeding all these people. No problem. It was the communalization of everything that did it." And then what did he do next? You brought this up. He decided that he had to make furnaces to make steel. They needed steel. So every commune became a steel manufacturing facility. Now,
by itself, yes.
So how did they make steel?
They don't. Yeah, of course. They want to give some steel product out, and then what they did is they will, crash everything that's made of metal, and then
they weren't making steel. They were just taking everything that was made out of metal.
It's a refinery. Well, some sort of refinery process.
Melt it down.
melt them down, and then it become a steel, and then they will give to the central government as their work result, right? Of course, you got a lot of steel that are useless because they have real poor quality, because you have a bunch of people, they're never in the steel industry, and all they need to do is just get a bunch of a furnace there set up, and just melt
Melt
all the
stuff down.
metal, and
Yeah.
then melt them together, becomes
A
a
brick
big
of
piece, a big piece of metal, and then they say that's their product, and that's helping Chairman Mao, right? So
But there was a significant problem to that, of course, because what they were melting down were all of the implements that they had to melt down. The knives and forks and spoons and anything metal went into the furnace to be melted down to metal for Chairman Mao. Now, not only that, but as they went along, Mao kept upping the ante. I want more steel, more steel, more steel. And so what did people do? They started melting everything. And after a while, there were no implements to farm with.
So basically, that's what happened in the between that's the 3 years, right, between 1958 to 1951, 1961. So it ended up with a great famine. A lot of people dying, because all of a sudden they don't have food anymore. There's no food left. So and then uh, people start hungry, dying. Government statistic after culture revolution ended in 1976. I believe that's in the early 80s. Actually, the government statistic exposed that uh, like more than 30 million people die as the result of the Great Leap Forward, and it's still a number that's being suppressed a lot by the government. So the government tried to reduce the total number in many different ways, but they still ended up like more than 30 million people die
Starved to death.
as the result of the Great Leap Forward.
And those young girls who lived through that famine are the aunties you see on cruise ships. Eating handfuls of lobster tail and whatnot. There you go. So,
But anyway, well, I watched the video clip. It's just a total shame for Chinese people to do that. That's how things can happen after you entirely lost your tradition, all the value systems. All these years living under the communist system.
the only
That's
the only morality is the morality of Chinese communism. That's it.
That's it.
And if you try to come up with something else, you're going to get turned into a body part donor, and it isn't going to be pretty.
Well, it's interesting. Back in after 20, I'm not sure it's 2017 or 2018. In the big cities in China like Shanghai, they start open those canteens again.
Right.
So it's interesting. That's how Xi Jinping is going backwards, right? Going to go back Chairman Mao's era. So they start having these kind of canteens again in the big cities. That's just that's
Well,
what people don't know what to say. And now it's obviously it's contagious. So New York are going to have.
there you go. Well, I wanted to finish with what Mao did, because it seemed to be he was making a series of really stupid mistakes, and that ended up in the great famine, the cataclysm of tens of millions of people starving to death. And yet he didn't stop making crazy, stupid mistakes. Now, cut away to today, and Xi Jinping And if you look at a series of his decisions over the past 13 years, it seems like he knows exactly where he wants to go, and he knows exactly how to get there, and nobody is going to tell him anything else. So he's a lot like Chairman Mao. I have decided that this is the way it's going to be, and so yes, sir, nobody's going to provide a dissenting word, and so you're going to end up in trouble, like Mao did. Your
Well,
thoughts?
it's the same way, right? That's why they build so many, ghost towns, right? So because the Chinese, the central control economy, it's always they set up the goal. They set up a goal. You have to have the how what's the percentage of a GDP increase by the end of the year? Then you just have to do it, so you build buildings. That's why everyone is building, because they build it that they will have the GDP,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they don't do it, they don't have the GDP. And so they finish so many years of construction. And in 2021, it's, I believe, somewhere between 2021 to 2023, that's the peak time of China's real estate price, and then it start dropping,
Yeah.
big time. And but however, they're still doing it. Xi Jinping has a big goal by the he won the 2035 China 2030 year of 2035 China's GDP to be double of 2020. So
And the nuclear arsenal, what,
yeah, that's a
1,700,
part of it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a part of
nuclear
it.
bombs or something like that.
So now that so they back calculate. So each year they need to have the GDP growth of close to 5%. I think it's 4.8 to 5%. So that's how they calculate it. Now
Mhm.
they that's how they go out, the central control economy, the central part of CCP, they will go out to give different provinces, counties, cities. Now here is the minimum growth of each year. So for your region. So that's what they're doing now. So they're still doing the same way. Then they never learn.
And
Okay.
like the farmers of Mao's time,
Right.
everybody's sending in reports that they do twice as much as they said, but always meeting the expectations of Chairman Xi. So yes, sir, we made it. We made it. But all of these numbers are cooked books. They don't really mean anything.
Well, well, so there's well, one thing is, we have to realize is the communist regime is the kind of regime they will be able to mobilize tremendous amount of resources and capacities to build their, see, if they can make the economy, to be developed in that way, they also in the real case, reality, they can make their military growth
Yep.
in the same way.
Which
And
is exactly
that's what we need to realize that, they whatever they want, they will mobilize put the entire nation's resource.
and the people mean nothing.
That's right. They say that's what they claim. That's why they say, in the tariffs war between United States and China, China will win because they say, well, they are under the socialist system in China, they can have people eating grass to survive for 3 years.
Yes, because they've done it. And
Yeah, they done it before. That's it.
history has a way, like Santillana pointed out. If we forget about that, it'll happen
Yeah,
again.
those,
And it's
think about
happening
those.
again.
Think about during the Great Leap Forward period, how people die. They eat all the food, and then they go out eat the tree leaves and tree skins, And then after they finish eating all the tree leaves and tree skins, and they start digging out the dirt. They eating the dirt literally. There's a certain kind of a dirt.
Minerals, yes.
Yeah. They dig them out, they eat them, and then after they eat them, of course, they become constipated, and that's how people's dying. They dying literally because they're eating the dirt. And then many of the areas, you heard this horrible story, and people trading babies to eat. That they don't want to eat their own baby, so they trade a baby between the families. To survive. That's all these horrible stories happened during the Great Leap Forward period of time before people die, and then that's how ugly humanity can become.
And so Zoran Mamdani has called our attention that these ideas that the CCP had about taking over everything, about government-owned stores, about taking luxury condominiums in New York City and turning them into communal-style living, condo.
Well, that's, at the end, that's how it's going to happen, okay? Because at the end, you have all these material scarcity. You don't have enough materials anymore, right?
Right.
Right, because you don't have that kind of a budget here for New York City. Same as in China, in the whole country, you don't have enough material to keep everybody wasting or eating or whatever. So
Free. It's
yeah, free,
free.
right? Free. So at the end, what they do is they will give you quotas. The coupons will
Coupon
become.
books will come back. Yeah.
Yeah, coupons. They will say each family, it's how you're allowed to if you have two adults, yeah, how many pounds of pork or beef or rice you are allowed to have. So they give you coupons, right? And then you take coupons, and then you go to canteens, and then and then when you buy food, you buy whatever. So hey, I grew up in the system, so I remember those days. You need, when you go to the canteens to buy the food, you need to have you have a coupon and money. You have to have two things: coupon and money. But you can exchange. So you can sell the coupons, because there are some of the families, they can't use all the coupons.
Right.
Then they're going to sell them exchange for money. So that's how that's how the whole system is going to work. At the end, it become really ugly.
And it's really just the way it ends. And we've seen this cycle repeat itself a number of times in China.
Well, we'll just wait to see if that guy really elected. We're just going to watch, the great city of New York, how it's going to go broke.
Well, I kind of like the guy because he's a fire breathing performer. He's really good on the mic, and I wish he was on our side, to tell you the truth. Which is to say, the classic conservative side, wherein people wouldn't need to live in a communal canteen or eat from a communal bucket together. I don't know. But he is burning up the Democrat Party. He's got an audience, and he's holding it. And he's got the Democrat Party behind him. He won the Democrat primary against
What was the another guy, Sanders?
Oh yeah,
Bernie
Sanders.
Does he support this Zara Mandani?
I think so. He's picking up a lot of endorsements even the senator, the senior senator from New York, has endorsed them.
Okay, so it looks like he's going to turn New York become a big testing ground. So
So then it will look like San Francisco or Portland or Seattle.
well, I don't know how it's going to become, but hey, you know, they if they are running out of house, they probably can put all these people in their subway.
But it's interesting on to how those ideas that did not work or never did work
Well,
or
it just
keep
never
coming
worked.
back.
You know, oh, yeah, yeah, it's more than centuries. Like 1848, you know, Karl Marx was born in 1818, May 5th, 1818. You see, I remember all this because we have to remember this to pass the exam in China to from one grade to the next grade. You have to remember all this shit. You know, in May 8th, 1980, May 8th, 1818 was the birthday of Karl Marx, and in 1848 he published this
Das Kapital
communist was uh,
Manifesto.
a manifesto,
Mm-hmm.
and then he claimed that you know the communist world is the world without family, without country, without government. You know, because government is the apparatus used for one social class to rule other social classes. By the time of communism, there's no country anymore. Everybody in the entire world is just a big commune, and then.
Eating
But
out of the canteen.
eating out
Free
of a
food,
canteen,
free
free
food
food.
that you must eat. You have no choice. You must
Yeah,
eat this free food.
yeah.
And that's
There's no
that.
private property. There's no family. You know, you go sleep with whoever you want to sleep with. Uh,
But the ideas have an appeal. Let's turn those luxury condominiums on East 56th Street in New York City into collectives.
how are you going to buy them? You know, they have to force those people to sell. It's like you know, in China.
Well, what did Mao do?
Yeah, Mao is a class struggle, right?
Yeah,
Class struggle. He mobilized the farmers to rob all the landlord's family. You know, my grandmom from my mother's side, you know, was a landlord, and then you know, I remember that was like in 1995. I went home, went to my hometown, and there was a big bed, you know, a bed that's made of wines, you know, in the olden way, you know, made of wines. And then my auntie told me, you know, when they in 1949, you know, the farmers came to our home and then took away everything, and then the only thing left is that the
that bed,
bed that you know that's you
the
know
Kong.
I don't know how you call it, you know, just
Yeah,
the bed. It's not a wood, but it's made of wine, and you know it's like a
hammock almost.
yeah, something like a mattress,
Right,
right?
right.
Like a mattress, but it's not made of the springs, but it's made of wines.
Did you actually see it when you went back?
Yeah. I sleep on it for a couple days. Is that this is the only thing left, and then the reason it was left, it was not taken away. It's because one of my auntie's sister, you know, she was like 3 or 4 years old, and then that's her bed. So she basically lay on the bed and say, "Don't take it away from me." And then so ended up people take everything else, just left her alone. So that's how that bed was the only thing saved for the family.
And it's still there today?
Yeah, well, it's still there.
90, 95.
1990. 1995, 96. So I went back home and they told me the story. It was like funny.
Yeah, it's very funny. My goodness. 3-year-old, and you can't take my bed. This is my bed.
So that was it.
So we see history in these stories. We see history repeating itself, going around and around and around. You get a good idea, and you're the king. You're the premier. You're the chairman. You're the president. You're in charge. I am going to do this, and nobody's going to stop me. Nobody can. So if the idea is bad, it continues to stay bad until it gets worse, until it pops like a big bubble, and there you are. And when the bubble popped for Chairman Mao, tens of millions of people starved to death.
30 million.
I've heard more than that.
30 million. That's still the government statistic.
Yeah,
That's not even the. I read one book, the Red Monument. The Red Monument was written by one of the political dissidents in China. He went to several provinces, and then he recorded the true stories how the Communist Party mobilized the farmers, kill the landlords, and then they forced the landlords to eat them. You know, the way they forced them to eat those landlords is they kill the landlord, and then they put a big pot, at the entry point of the village, and then the pot it's really really high, and then they will cut the human flesh, and then they will put with pork and beef all throw in there, and then you cannot choose. So because the pot is so hot, you have to reach out, without seeing it, and then you take one piece of meat from the pot, and then after it's cooked, and then whatever you have to eat it. That's how they force everybody to eat the landlord. So that's
eat at Mao's, right? Eat at Mao's. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Well, the sad part is, I had a radio show with Frank Decoder, who is a University of Hong Kong professor, who, when Deng Xiaoping opened up China, he snuck in as quickly as he could and did kind of a cross-section of communal history of the Great Leap Forward and the Great Famine and whatnot. He suggested from an extrapolation that there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 65 million people who starved to death. Incredible.
Well, LA Times published an article. You can still easily find it by Google. It's so well written and researched. Was published by LA Times in 1994. 80 million, total 80 million people die, because of the Chinese Communist Party's political policies after 1949, when the communists took over control of China.
And the ideas keep going around and coming around because we can't seem to remember our history. This has been China Now, the Eat at Mao's edition, I guess you might call it. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be back next week, same time, same bat channel, with more news of China Now. Friend or foe, war or peace? What do you think? You have to think about it. It's a must. Thank you for tuning in.